This story is about a painter which tells us that failure isn't a sign to stop, it's an invitation to grow. When you create from your heart instead of for approval, your work becomes unstoppable. True success is not being accepted by everyone, it's being true to yourself. Stay with us till the end. Maya Rivera had always believed that colors could speak when words failed. Ever since she was a little girl, she had found comfort in sketching on the backs of old notebooks and painting on scraps of cardboard. Her tiny apartment was more like an artist's sanctuary, canvases leaning against the walls, brushes in jars, and splashes of paint on the floor that looked like unintentional masterpieces themselves. For years, Maya worked long hours as a waitress just to afford paint and canvas. Each night, when the world outside grew quiet, she stayed up late under the warm glow of a single desk lamp, her fingers stained with color as she worked on her art. She had one dream: to see her paintings displayed in a real gallery, to have strangers stand in front of her work and feel the emotions she poured into it. One day, her opportunity finally arrived. A small local gallery owner saw one of her paintings on social media and invited her to display 5 of her best pieces at their next exhibition. Maya was over the moon. She spent weeks perfecting every detail, adding layer after layer of color, making sure each painting carried a piece of her soul. The night of the exhibition, Maya dressed in her best outfit, a simple white dress speckled with a few paint stains she couldn't quite wash out. She arrived early, nervously arranging her paintings on the walls. As the event began, the gallery buzzed with conversation, laughter, and the sound of clinking glasses. Maya stood quietly in the corner, heart pounding, watching as people walked past her paintings. She waited for someone to stop, to connect with her work, to feel what she had felt while creating it. She smiled shyly at every person who came near, hoping for a kind word, a spark of interest. That night, Maya felt like she was standing at the doorway of her dreams, not knowing that the night ahead would change her life forever. As the evening went on, Maya's hopes slowly began to dim. She noticed how visitors spent minutes admiring other artists' work, discussing techniques, and even purchasing paintings, but when they reached her corner, they barely paused. A few gave polite nods before moving on, as though her work was invisible. One man stopped for a moment, his arms crossed, and frowned at one of her pieces. "Too emotional, too raw," he muttered under his breath to his companion before walking away. Those words pierced Maya like a knife. She had painted that piece on a night she couldn't stop crying, a night where she had poured her heart onto the canvas. To hear it dismissed so casually made her feel small, foolish even. By the end of the night, not a single painting had sold. No one had asked about her inspiration, no one had even written her name down. She quietly helped the gallery assistant take her paintings down, her hands trembling as if every frame was heavier than before. Walking back home under the streetlights, tears welled up in her eyes. Maya kept replaying the night in her head, the awkward smiles, the dismissive glances, the stinging words of the critic. By the time she reached her apartment, she felt drained, defeated, and broken. For days, she couldn't bring herself to paint. The canvases stood silently against the wall, mocking her failure. Her brushes lay untouched, collecting dust. She stopped sharing her work online and even avoided friends who had wished her luck for the exhibition. Maya began questioning everything: her talent, her choices, her dream. Maybe she wasn't meant to be an artist after all. Maybe she was just fooling herself. The thought hurt more than anything else. She would sit in front of a blank canvas for hours, staring at it, unable to lift her brush. The very thing that once brought her joy now felt like a reminder of her pain. But deep down, a tiny spark still refused to die, waiting for the right moment to reignite her passion. One quiet evening, Maya sat on her apartment balcony, staring at the city lights, feeling the weight of her own silence. Weeks had passed since the exhibition, and her apartment felt colder, emptier, without the sound of her brushes on canvas. She sighed and went for a walk, hoping the night air would clear her mind. As she turned the corner near an abandoned building, she heard laughter and music. Curious, she followed the sound and saw a group of children painting a colorful mural on a cracked, gray wall. Their hands were messy with paint, their clothes stained, but their faces were glowing with pure joy. Maya stood there for a moment, mesmerized. The children weren't worried about critics, galleries, or perfection, they were simply creating. One little girl dipped her hand in yellow paint and left a bright handprint on the wall, giggling. Something inside Maya stirred. She remembered why she started painting in the first place, not for fame, not for money, but because art was her voice when words failed. She returned home, pulled out a blank canvas, and for the first time in weeks, picked up her brush. This time, she didn't think about what people would say. She didn't plan, she didn't erase, she just let the paint flow. Her emotions poured out with every stroke, the pain of rejection, the sting of failure, and the quiet hope that had been hiding inside her all along. Days turned into nights as Maya worked tirelessly, filling canvas after canvas with her rawest, most authentic work yet. The fear that once held her back was gone, she painted like no one was watching. And this time, her art was different. It was bolder, freer, and more honest than ever before. She felt alive again, as though each brushstroke was breathing new life into her dreams. Maya didn't know if the world would ever see these paintings. All she knew was that she had found herself again, and that was enough. Months later, Maya's apartment was no longer silent, it was alive. Every wall was covered with her latest paintings, each one more fearless than the last. Her friends began to notice her glow returning and encouraged her to share her work again. At first, Maya hesitated, but one night, on a whim, she posted a picture of her latest piece online. She didn't expect much. But by morning, the post had thousands of likes, shares, and heartfelt comments. People wrote about how her painting made them cry, how it reminded them of their own struggles, how it felt like someone finally painted what they had always felt but couldn't say. Soon, her inbox was flooded with messages from local galleries, art lovers, even schools inviting her to talk to students about finding their voice through art. Maya realized something profound: the very pain that had once broken her had become the bridge connecting her to others. She agreed to display her new collection in a gallery, but this time, she walked in without fear. She didn't care about the critics or sales, her art had already done what it was meant to do: heal her and inspire others. On the opening night, Maya stood in front of her favorite painting, a vibrant piece she had created after her darkest day. A young woman approached her with tears in her eyes and said, "This painting made me feel less alone." "Thank you." Maya smiled, her heart full. She realized that failure had not been the end of her dream, it had been the beginning of a more authentic one. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe for more motivational videos.